Perfect. Then welcome also from my side. I'm very happy to join you here for this talk on the European Research Council Advanced Grants. And in the next 30 minutes, I will give you a brief overview on this funding scheme. Just shortly from me, I am Isabel Herzhoff. I am based at KoWi, the EU Liaison Office of the German Research Organizations. And what we do is that we offer information, advice, and training on EU research and innovation funding. And here we act as a one-stop shop for Horizon Europe because we give information on the whole framework program and also on the whole project lifecycle. So from identifying funding opportunities to application and also project management questions. Our supporting association comprises the large research organizations in Germany, and we are connected on a European level because we have offices in Bonn and Brussels, and thus can give you any information from EU level quickly and forward it to our community here in Germany. We are also part of the national contact point for ERC. And just as an overview for you, what are our services that we can offer you? So of course, general information on the European Research Council, but also advice on grant application and management. We offer individual proposal checks. So always before a deadline, we offer to have a look at your draft and give you feedback. We have several information events, of course, and have a newsletter and a website to keep you updated. And all of this we always do in close collaboration with the EU liaison offices at the host institutions, so at the universities or research institutions. This, as an overview, is the Horizon Europe program structure. This new framework is running from 2021 to 2027. And today we will be looking at Pillar 1, the Excellent Science Pillar. That's where all the bottom-up research is located. And here you can find the European Research Council as the first program listed in this pillar. Now let's have a look at the general information first. What are the principles of ERC funding? It's funding of basic research, or in ERC terms, frontier research. The whole development of the funding schemes is science-driven. So there's a scientific council deciding on developments concerning the program. There is no top-down decision by the European Commission included here. The ERC is open to all fields of research. That's what I mean by bottom-up. It's investigator-driven, and you have annual calls for proposals. Also, it is open for researchers of any age and nationality. No restrictions here. And most importantly, scientific excellence is the sole criterion for evaluation. We will have a look at what this means in a few slides later on. First, the funding modalities. So this funding concerns individuals. It's the funding of you as a principal investigator and your project. The idea is that you can start or consolidate your independent research team in Europe, which in this case means a member state or an associated country. The funding is 100% of all direct project costs plus 25% overhead. And direct project costs, that can be, for example, living allowance, travel expenses and consumables. Also publication costs, because in Horizon Europe, you have to publish open access. And in addition, any research-related costs, also purchase of major equipment, and so on. For this part, we always advise you to get in touch with the institution for the budget planning, as they will have internal rules that have to be respected and can give you a lot of important hints here. This is the overview of the ERC funding schemes. So you can see the ERC has several funding schemes, starting with the studying grant for the younger researchers, followed by the consolidator grants. And then what we are looking at today, the advanced grants for researchers with a 10-year track record. Also interesting to know, there's also a proof of concept scheme, which is there to prepare ideas from your ERC grant for the market. And the synergy grant scheme, that's a bit different from the other schemes because it's made for teams of 2 to 4 PIs want to pursue highly ambitious research goals together. So goals that they could not do on their own, but need a team of 2 to 4 highly skilled researchers. Today, we are looking at the advanced grants in detail. So let's have a look at the different aspects here. The target group is basically you, the established researchers. The benchmark is a track record of significant research achievements in the last 10 years. And you can get a funding of a maximum of 2.5 million euro for a maximum of 5 years. In addition, you can get a top-up or exceptional additional funding of up to 1 million euros, for example, for major equipment or for access to large research facilities. Your host institution has to be located in an EU member state or an associated country. By this, I mean a country that is associated to this framework program for research and innovation. And the time commitment is at least 30%. That means you have to work at least 30% of your working time on this ERC grant, and you have to spend at least 50% of your working time in Europe. The procedure is a single submission of the full proposal, so you prepare everything at once, but there's a 2-step evaluation, including an interview in the second evaluation step. You will have 1 call per year, and here you have the call calendar. You can see the advanced grants 2021, so the next call is due to open on the 20th of May with a deadline on the 31st of August 2021. And I also put the advanced grants 2022 dates already in here, but these are still to be confirmed, but that's the current planning by the European Research Council, that you have in 2022 the opening of the call already in January and the deadline end of April 2022. I also brought you a few statistics. Here we have the advanced grant 2019 grantees by country of the host institution and domain of the research. As you can see, Germany is leading this statistic for the 2019 call, with most ERC grants in the domains of physical sciences and engineering and life sciences, followed closely by UK. And you can see for the most recent call, this is this slide, advanced grant 2020 grantees by country of host institution and domain. UK is leading here, and you see Germany is following in the second position, again, with most grants in these fields, physical sciences and engineering and life sciences. Another statistic shows you the advanced grant 2020 grantees by nationality and gender. It's very male dominated, with 53 German national advanced grantees in this 2020 call. Now, let's have a look at the application procedure and the evaluation process. All of this works online. You submit your proposal in this funding and tender opportunities portal of the European Commission. I also added the link here. And you submit it as a PI together with the host institution, and you do need a host support letter by this institution. So you should prepare early enough to get this letter signed. You have a few supporting documents that you need for an application. First, the ERC work program 2021. That's already there, that exists, but the proposal templates and the information for applicants will only be uploaded once the call opens, so on the 20th of May. But then it's just important to use the current templates. Usually there are no major changes, but especially the information for applicants document gives you all the information you need to prepare a good application with all the details they want to know from you. And again, this link to the portal, it's quite important to maybe familiarize yourself early enough with this portal to not be surprised by what is asked of you and how this works. Also good to know, maybe you can always submit your proposal and resubmit up until the deadline. Always your latest submission will be evaluated. And this is just very helpful. So that you can be sure something is submitted already in case of any technical problems or other issues. I told you before that the sole criteria of evaluation is excellence. And this is divided into two aspects. One focuses on your research project, and the other part of the evaluation on you as a principal investigator and your researcher profile. So looking at what this excellence criteria means for the research project, on the one hand, that's the groundbreaking nature, ambition, and feasibility part. Here, the evaluators check whether you and your proposal will address important challenges, have ambitious objectives, and propose research that's beyond the state of the art. Another important point here is this high risk, high gain aspect of the ERC, saying that the ERC is looking for projects that are so innovative that they might fail because you're trying something completely new. But if it works, it will be a huge gain for your research field. Also, the scientific approach will be evaluated. And here what counts is feasibility, because although they are looking for high-risk projects, you have to show the evaluators why you think it's going to be feasible. The appropriateness of research methodology is another aspect, development of novel methodology within your proposal, and things like timescales, resources, and time commitment have to be adequate. This is what concerns the research project. Now looking at the principal investigator side, what will be evaluated is your ability to conduct groundbreaking research and whether you have shown evidence of creative independent thinking. Also, if they judge that you have the scientific expertise and capacity to actually execute the proposed project. And now this is specific for advanced grant applicants, whether you have shown sound leadership in the training and advancement of young scientists. The proposal consists of several parts. One are the administrative forms or proposal submission forms. That is something you will fill in online in this funding and tenders portal. Here you just have general information like contact information, who are the participants, you put your budget, you have to answer ethics and security questions by just ticking a list. And whenever you say, yes, this ethic issue is something that will come up in my project, you actually have to write a little bit about this to show that you have thought through the ethics issues. Then the content part is B1 and B2. B1 will be evaluated in the first evaluation step and consists of an extended synopsis, a 5-page summary of your project, a CV, and a track record. And B2, which will be evaluated in the second step together with B1, is the full scientific proposal. In addition, there are some annexes you have to provide. That's the host support letter I mentioned earlier, also called host institution binding statement of support. You can just ask your EU liaison office, they will be able to help you with that. PhD certificate is not necessary in your case, but further documents, if applicable, could be uploaded as annexes. Part B in detail. I mentioned the structure before, but we will have a look at what the different parts mean in a second. Let's start with the extended synopsis. You have 5 pages to give a concise presentation of your scientific project. That's quite a challenge because 5 pages is not a lot, but that's what you have to convince the evaluators of your project so that they say, yes, your project should go on in the second evaluation step. So you should pay particular attention to the groundbreaking nature of the research and demonstrate the feasibility of your scientific approach. And this is kind of your entry card into the whole evaluation process. What will also be evaluated in this first step is the CV. That's just a standard academic and research record. You can explain any research career gaps that you might have or any unconventional paths that you took. You have 2 pages here. And that's also interesting. In addition, there's a funding ID. That's just a table, not counting to the page limit, where you list your third-party funding and any other ongoing applications. What follows is the track record. Here you have 2 pages to kind of show your researcher profile. You will list your most important publications only because of the page limit. Other important achievements, maybe patents, invited presentations to established international conferences, any prizes, awards, or maybe memberships that you would like to highlight. All of this is the V1 part. If you make it to the second step, the evaluators will look at part B2, which is the scientific proposal. Here you have a structure in the template already. So you start with state of the art and objectives. You have to show the problem and motivation behind your proposal and what are your objectives for these 5 years research plan. You have to show the impact your research will have and why this is groundbreaking. And then the second section is methodology, where you have to describe your work plan. Usually that's done in several work packages. You have to highlight the novel and unconventional aspects and address this high-risk, high-gain balance. For all of this, you have 14 pages, plus a resources section in part A, because any justification of your resources that directly goes into a different part in this part A form. I already told you a bit about the evaluation in the meantime, but in general, that's a peer review process. You have research field specific evaluation panels with always 1 panel chair and 10 to 15 members. It is organized in a way that you have 3 scientific domains. I mentioned them before, I think. So it's physical sciences and engineering, PE, with 11 panels, life sciences, LS, with 9 panels, and social sciences and humanities, SH, with 7 panels. You as an applicant, you choose your panel and also indicate 1 or more keywords, which just help the executive agency and the panel chairs to find the perfect evaluators for your proposal. This might be a very important information. You can exclude up to 3 reviewers in advance. The thing is, you do not know who will be evaluating your proposal in advance. But if you say, okay, this person, it's a competitor or just someone you definitely don't want to evaluate your proposal, you can name those persons without giving any reasons. And if it so happens that they were asked to evaluate, of course, they will not be part of the evaluators of your proposal. This is what the evaluation process looks like in detail. So you submit the full proposal, maybe not on the day of the deadline, but maybe a few days ahead because of technical problems that sometimes occur at the date of the deadline, followed by an eligibility check. Then you have the step 1 evaluation by panel members. That's a remote evaluation. And you will always have at least 3 panel members reading your B1 part. That's important to know because those panel members have kind of a broad expertise altogether. So you're writing this B1 part for researchers from the broad area you are working in, but maybe not for specialists from exactly your field. Then there is a first panel meeting and it is decided which proposals can pass to step 2. What follows then in the step 2 evaluation process is an individual assessment of the full proposal, so every part, by panel members, but also by external experts or referees. And all of this is taken into account for the second panel meeting with the interviews of applicants. So you will be asked questions that maybe come from panel members, but maybe also from these external evaluators, and you will have to present your interview in this second step. Panel chairs meeting that follows the consolidation of the three domain rank lists, and then it's just a question of budget up to where they can fund the projects. I have a slide here that shows you the panel structure for the ERC calls 2021 and 2022. So they have reshuffled a few things to be able to have a matching panel for every proposal, let's say. If it so happens that your proposal is just between two panels, it's absolutely possible to also indicate two panels when you submit your application. That's always a question of what makes sense for your proposal. So you would just select the panel that best fits to what you propose. And then you also have the descriptors that makes it a bit clearer what your research will be about. So if you see these, as an example, PE1 I took here, PE1, this is not a sub-panel or anything, it's just the descriptors that are there to help the executive agency to find the best evaluators for your proposal. If you make it to the interview in the second step, that's generally in Brussels. Last year it took place online, of course. So it's an interview with all the panel members present. And the usual structure is that you have your project presentation plus Q&A, where you answer those prepared questions or any spontaneous questions that come up because of your presentation. It's really important because this interview influences the position of you and your project on the ranking list. And usually or generally, there's a friendly and very professional atmosphere with a focus on the scientific questions. But of course, you should also be prepared for any questions on budget-related issues or project management-related issues, for example, especially if you ask for this additional funding. We, as a national contact point for ERC, provide interview trainings in advance of these interviews. So if you receive an invitation to the second step, you're very welcome to apply for one of the places in our interview trainings if you feel that this might be interesting for you to prepare for the interview. Maybe some of you have already submitted. In that case, here are the resubmission rules for the 2021 call. Usually they do not change from call to call. The ERC kept this rule now for several years in a row. So basically it's important for you to know once you pass to the second step, you can resubmit without limitations. If, however, you receive a B or C in step 1, which means you do not make it to the second step, you have to wait until you can resubmit. With a B in the first step, you have to wait 1 call year. And if you receive a C in the first step, you cannot resubmit in the next 2 call years. Here is the overview for the duration from submission to funding. Because of those 2 steps and the interviews included in the evaluation process, it takes a little longer than with other funding programs in the EU. So you have to count about 10 months until you can actually start with your project. But after the submission deadline, you can count 3 months more or less, and then you will receive the result of step 1 and know whether to prepare for the interview. That will take another 3 to 4 months until you have the final result. What follows is the grant preparation phase, where basically the ERC executive agency will do all the administrative stuff with your host institution. The grant agreement has to be signed and so on. Yes, I mentioned the grant agreements. So that's signed between executive agency and your host institution. For you, it's important you will have the work contract with your host institution, plus a supplementary agreement the host institution has to provide, which just says that they will provide you with all the necessary, let's say, laboratory space or any other working conditions you need to successfully conduct your project. And what is very important for you to know, it is your grant, it's not the host institution's grant. So if for any reasons at some point you decide that you want to change the host institution, that's absolutely possible. You can take your grant with you. So much for the information on the application, procedure, and evaluation process. I have a few slides where you can find even more information, starting with how you should prepare. If you think about submitting now in this next call, these are some questions you should have clear before you go for it. Can you explain your project idea briefly and concisely? Are the goals and the novelty clear from the beginning? Which important challenges will you tackle? What are the groundbreaking or novel aspects? What makes the project high risk but feasible? And what is the expected impact on your research field? Also, maybe different from other funding schemes, why are you the right person to carry out the project? It might be helpful to check out what kind of projects have been funded by the ERC so far. I put the link here for you on the European Research Council's website, and here you can filter for funding schemes and also domains, call years and country of host institution. You will find the abstracts of the different funded proposals, which can be quite helpful to just get an impression of how successful proposals were structured. What is new and also very helpful are these ERC classes. The European Research Council actually put those on YouTube, and they deliver a step-by-step guidance to the ERC application process. So that might be worthwhile to just have a look, also maybe just on the ones that are interesting for you, maybe how to get started with your ERC proposal. These are our contacts from the National Contact Point ERC in Germany. My colleagues and I are very happy to help you with any questions that might come up in the process, or to offer you our service of proofreading your proposal drafts. And of course, invite you to contact us with any questions. But this is for now the end of the presentation, and I think we also have time for any questions right now.